I tend to have the whim to do a video, so I put the camera up and push record before I can change my mind. I came out earlier and looked out the window, and the front yard was half flooded, and the street was half flooded, and the intersection was completely flooded, and a car drove by and made boat wakes, and I went, wonder who I report that to. So I got online, City of Salem, Public Works, blah, 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 and found a where do you report a problem? And it listed the things that you can report. Flickering lights is one. We have flickering lights all the time because our tree is in the power lines. Which we haven't reported because we're kind of worried that the homeowner's responsible for the expense of cutting the tree, but we haven't found out yet. Anyway, so I went down the list and it looked pretty straightforward, so I put our intersection down. It took me about 45 minutes to find where our intersection was. Yeah, that took longer than it should have, but I found it and I reported it and said there appears to be minor flooding. 10 minutes from the time I hit send, a van pulled up and two guys jumped out and started assessing everything and put up little roadblocks and cones and making people go to one thing, and another truck showed up and started directing traffic to make people go outside of the floodwater. Stomped around, looked at their little screens and stomped around, and then pulled out some shovels and started digging the dead tree leaves off of the edge of the road until they found the drain, and then dropped an actual snake, wire into the drain, and then pulled out a giant mass of tree leaves and shoveled those down the line a little bit, and then another truck pulled up and two guys jumped out and shoveled all those leaves into the truck. Wet clotted mass. I think there was a dead raccoon in there. I don't know. I can't see. And I'm not going to sit there and peer out the window. You know what I mean? But 3 trucks total. And then a Salem PD came and just kind of stood around talking. It's pouring down rain out. These guys are all out there having a good time. I mean, they obviously are enjoying themselves. They finished up. It took them 15 minutes total, and they left. And I got a beep on my phone from the app that you go through to do the report saying, problem resolved. Please let us know if there's further issues. Everybody out there that complains about socialist states and then cites failed socialist states for their examples, doesn't work that way. It really doesn't. Socialism can work. It really can. It has worked. The problem is hybrids. Socialism, capitalism, which is what we have now, and hybrid socialism, fascism. And the problem in the past has been that the CIA had a vested interest in making socialism, still has a vested interest in making socialism not work in countries that have it. Therefore, they sabotage. One of the misnomers, mistaken ideas, is that people on socialism will be lazy and sit around doing nothing. And you have all the memes of the guys at the construction site sitting around doing nothing all day long getting paid because they're on the government paycheck, therefore they don't have to work attitude. I don't see that in healthy places. I see that in crappy places. But if you pay somebody enough money to incentivize them to work, they enjoy working. Most people enjoy working. I enjoy working. I just don't enjoy working at a bad job. You know? Anyway. It was an exciting little thing for my boring little life because, I'm stuck in here and I'm reading all the reports and everything is suggesting that I can't get the vaccine right away. Even if it was available, everything is suggesting that I need to wait and see how people with allergies handle it and with immune problems handle it. And note that I did not mention that Michael got exposed until we were on the backside of that curve. I didn't tell you on the 9th when we found out, or actually the 10th when we found out, because y'all don't need my worries, you know? Anyway, the employee in question had seen his father and then gone to work the next day. And in fact, gone to work for 3 or 4 days. And on about day 5 from his point of contact with his father, went to work on Wednesday, which Wednesday is their everybody in Parks' working day. They're all in the same office for a while. Except the supervisors, who were all working from home for some reason. Anyway. So, in a crowded office building full of park rangers getting an educational class, this guy had been exposed 5 days prior to his father. He went home that night, and his father said, "Oh, by the way, I tested positive." Now, I don't know if his father was sick enough to know to get tested. I don't have those details, just that he found out that his father had tested positive 5 days after he was exposed to his father, which means within the contagious period. So he notified his superior, and his superior kicked it up to the person in charge of all the rangers, and the person in charge of all the rangers said something to the effect, "Well, everybody's been exposed, there's no reason to quarantine." And sent out an email telling everybody they've been exposed, and if they have symptoms, to get tested. That didn't go over very well at all. Meanwhile, the ranger has since tested negative, but everything says that a negative test can be a false negative, and until you're 14 days later, you don't know. So, for him, he's on day 10 right now. He's got a couple more days to find out if he's sick, but he could have been asymptomatic. But, it gets really, really, really overwhelming, you know? Almost as overwhelming as this shit here. So, something to know in life, your thyroids are directly involved with your hormones. And your thyroids, I say plural, because you have a thyroid gland right here that if it goiters, you get this big ball. And then you have parathyroid glands on either side and to the back. And when they goiter, it gets like this. Anyway, they're directly involved in your hormones, which means a bad thyroid or parathyroid can make you feel depressed, can make you feel manic, can make you feel like you have PMS constantly, can really mess you up emotionally. For me, I get slightly more depressed. I'm depressed to begin with. And I get weepy. I cry. It's kind of really, really annoying. Really, really annoying. Anyway, that's your tip on thyroid. It's why if you go in and you're depressed, the first thing your doctor should do is check your thyroid levels, and the second thing your doctor should do is check your B-complex vitamin levels. Then deal with any depression that may be happening. Because low B-complex of any type, any of the Bs, and problems with your thyroid can cause depression. Problems with your thyroid can cause weight gain. Problems with your thyroid can cause weight loss. Yeah, it's a regulator. Anyway. It's been 8 minutes. I'm babbling. I'm tired. I was coming in to make coffee and I haven't made the coffee yet. Because I have to drink the last little bit and it's kind of dredgy. It's kind of dredgy, so I'm dumping it and starting over. So, we use these guys. Come on. You can come out. These guys. Okay. They're okay. If you're craving a burrito, they're okay. We use corn tortillas 90% of the time. And I make corn tortillas from scratch occasionally. But we use the flour tortillas here and there. They make really, really good cracker crust pizzas. And I have this temptation to try drying them and seeing if I can make crackers out of them. But they're expensive. They're like $5 for 10. So, a couple months back, about a month and a half ago, I made burrito-y enchilada things with refried beans and chicken and black beans and black olives and green chilies and enchilada sauce and brown sauce, and it was really good. But I made too much because I'm me. And 1 pan of it went into the freezer. 1 pan this big, which is way more food than the 2 of us need for a meal, went into the freezer. And I didn't think about it because I usually, if it's a freezer food item, I will use the corn tortillas. And they just disappear into it and it becomes soup. Anyway, we pulled it out. I pulled it out yesterday and cooked it up for dinner. And went to slice it. And gluten-free flour tortillas or non-flour tortillas. Don't use them in the freezer. Don't use them in freezer food. Just don't. Just trust me on that. So have you ever had